Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to be starting a series about elections in the United States coming up in 2020 and just giving my predictions on what will happen to the electoral map given different candidates, given different scenarios in the Senate and in the presidency. So, this scenario, I think, is the most likely the President Donald Trump versus leading Democrat Joe Biden. He's the most salient Democrat, I believe, in the race right now. So I'm going to go ahead and add the safe Republican states in this electoral map. So obviously those are the states that vote Republican every single year, and so those are states like Nebraska, who I'm adding the statewide electoral vote because they do have one. They're not a winner take all vote, so they do have one toss up vote. States like Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Montana, Wyoming, all the Republican strongholds, populated largely by white, working class, and middle class, mostly not college educated, blue collar workers, or blue collar is largely in the Midwest and in the West, in the South. So those are pretty much the Republican. Oh, I forgot about Alaska. Those are the Republican strongholds, and the Democratic strongholds are Hawaii. You see the West Coast mostly, although Oregon may be in play. Donald Trump thinks Illinois. You have the East Coast states like Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Delaware, Maryland, and of course Washington D.C. So I believe, those are all the Democratic safe states, like absolutely safe, like a lock for the Democratic candidate, whoever it is. So I starting with the Republican state, the leans or likely Republican states, I believe that Texas is a likely Republican state. I don't believe that it can go to a Democrat regardless of who it is at this point. I don't think its demographics or its population distribution are favorable enough for it to go to any Democrat at this point. I also believe Oregon, although the president believes it's in play, I believe that the large cities on its coast dominate the electorate too much to have it give it a chance for the Democrats. And of course, you have the state of Georgia, which Donald Trump won by, I believe, 9 points in 2016. I don't see it going Democratic. There are too many white working class voters. Gubernatorial Brian Kemp won it in 2018 as well. So going back to what I said earlier about Texas not being in play for the Democrats, I think that although their additional their Latino community is growing in population, and just the state in general is growing in population at a higher rate than most other states, I don't believe that that will be enough to award the electoral vote to Democrats, especially with even a lot of Republicans, a lot of cities in that state are Republican dominated. And I do not believe that the Hispanic vote will overwhelm the white working class vote in 2020. Demographic changes might change that in 2024, probably beyond 2024. But all in all, Texas is still a Republican stronghold, and it will remain that way. I believe the president won it by 9 points in 2016. And if the Democrats nominate a candidate like Joe Biden, he might get a similar portion of the vote. He might get slightly less, just because of the general vitriol towards the president. But also, I believe that North Carolina is a likely Republican state, and the Democrats always believe it's in play ever since they won it in 2008. But it's just not the case. I don't believe anymore. I believe Colorado is a likely Democratic state. The demographics have changed. It's become a much more urbanized state than it has in years past. And the years of George Bush winning that state, I believe, have expired. Now, I do believe if Joe Biden is the nominee, the Democratic candidate will win the state of New Hampshire. New Hampshire is highly white and college educated, so I believe that Joe Biden has a good chance there. As with Virginia, Virginia's demographic changes. I know I keep bringing up that terminology, but the demographic changes. It used to be a true swing state. Now I would say it leans Democratic in recent years. I believe Iowa actually the demographics in Iowa favor Republicans at this point. They're mostly white, working class, support. I mean, currently his approval rating in Iowa is not great, but they voted relatively overwhelmingly for the president in 2016. I believe Maine has a similar demographic to Iowa, or that district in Maine is largely white and working class, and they voted for Trump in 2016. So I have no reason to see why that would change. And so I don't believe that in Iowa that in previous years the Democrats have held that as a stronghold, but I don't believe that they'll hold that anymore. Minnesota, I know Democrats have held that for many years, even going back to the Reagan days when it was one of the only states Dukakis won. I think they will continue to hold that if a candidate like Biden was able to resonate with those that populace is nominated. Ohio, I should put likely Republican, actually. Trump won it by 8 points. And again, it's more rural, it's more blue collar. I don't see a Democrat winning that state. The same with Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin was part of the infamous blue wall that Democrats dominated for many years, and I don't believe that Democrats have a base there anymore. I think it's more rural than its other Midwestern Rust Belt counterparts like Michigan. And Nevada, I think, is going towards Joe Biden. I mean, there's no way you can overwhelm the city of Las Vegas as a Republican at this point with the nominees that you have, and especially Donald Trump's unpopularity with Hispanics in the state. I believe Michigan, I believe Joe Biden can flip Michigan and Pennsylvania. They're much more urban than either Wisconsin or Ohio, and Trump is less popular there than in Wisconsin and Ohio. And he won by the slimmest margin in Michigan. I think he won by less than 0.2% in Michigan. So that gives him that gives Joe Biden 268 electoral votes. So that's very, very close. And the president has 259. But if he wins Arizona, which I believe he will, that gives the president 270 electoral votes. So what this election comes down to is Arizona, in my opinion. Arizona went for the president by, I believe, 2 to 4 points. I don't have the stats up, but 2 to 4 points in 2016. And I think that's the way it's going to go in 2020. And I appreciate you guys for watching. If you want more of this, you can let me know in the comments section. I enjoy making this, so thank you.